Hi there, I'm Mr. J and I'm back again to share with you some interesting science stuff. This time I'm here for my secondary 2 students who will be studying digestion, and I'm going to share with you some important stuff that you need to know for digestion, as well as some interesting things about human evolution. So I hope you enjoy this one. The first thing we're going to look at is these three types of food groups and the enzymes that actually break down these food groups. Now, these are very important and you will need to memorize them because you will be tested on them. So let's take a look at carbohydrates first. So there are three important sugars that you need to look at when dealing with carbohydrates. The first being starch. Starch is a polysaccharide which is first broken down in your mouth by your salivary amylase, the enzyme. And it's broken down into maltose, and maltose is later further broken down by maltase in the small intestine into two molecules of glucose. Now don't forget, salivary amylase isn't only present in your mouth. Our pancreas also produces pancreatic amylase, which is secreted in our small intestine. So remember that. The other two sugars, sucrose as well as lactose, are also digested in your small intestine. They are both disaccharides. So it's important to remember that your polysaccharides are these long chains of sugar like starch, and disaccharides are slightly shorter, made of two your maltose, your sucrose, and your lactose. So these are further broken down into monosaccharides, which are your glucose, fructose, as well as galactose. So for sucrose, it is broken down by sucrase into glucose and fructose. For your lactose, it is broken down by lactase into glucose and galactose. And that's for your three carbohydrates that you will have to remember. So let's talk about proteins next. So for proteins, which are also known as polypeptides, are broken down in the stomach first by protease into shorter peptide chains, and this digestion continues all the way in the small intestine until finally they become amino acids, which is your smallest molecule, smallest soluble diffusible molecule, which can then be absorbed by your small intestine. And last of all, we have fats. Now, fat digestion only begins in the small intestine, and you must be careful here. You must remember that physical digestion of fats begin first with bile produced by the liver, secreted into the small intestine. What bile does is it emulsifies these large fat molecules into smaller fat globules. The chemical digestion begins later when lipase is secreted to the fat molecules, your lipids, and it is broken down into three fatty acid chains along with one molecule of glycerol. So that pretty much sums up the three food groups and the chemical digestion that takes place with all of them. Please remember these enzymes as well as what food molecules are digested by these enzymes and the final products of these food groups. This is very important and you will be tested on this. Now, enough with the studying, and let's get into some interesting stuff about human evolution. So about 20,000 years ago, human adults actually didn't have the ability to digest lactose, and we were all lactose intolerant. Babies, on the other hand, and younger children were able to digest lactose because they would still feed on breast milk, and the body was still producing lactase to help them with digestion and to help them get the nutrients that they needed. But adults, on the other hand, stopped the production of lactose, and so basically they were all lactose intolerant. Now, fast forward to today, and you realize that, hey, so many humans are actually able to drink milk. There are very little lactose intolerant people. So what actually happened? So 20,000 years ago, we didn't have the convenience of supermarkets and, just going down stairs to, buy food from a coffee shop. And so food was scarce. And during times where food was hard to find during winter, lots of people starved. And so a lot of people actually resorted to drinking animal milk, goat milk, cow milk. And those who didn't would, of course, suffer from malnourishment and eventually die. For those who were drinking it, they would also suffer because it would cause them severe diarrhea, and that back then could potentially kill somebody. So what happened was a few individuals were lucky enough to have this mutation that allowed them to produce lactase even into adulthood. And so these adults were now surviving well. They could drink the milk, no problems, and they were actually more likely to survive. And because of this, they were able to reproduce and pass these genes on to their kids. Now, this is a process known as natural selection. And in this case, the selection pressure was strong enough to allow this evolution to happen within the span of 20,000 years, which is a really short time for something like this to happen. So because of that, now humans, we pass down the genes, and now most humans are actually able to digest your lactose because of the fact that we can produce lactase even into adulthood. So that pretty much sums up this quick lesson on digestion. Remember those important facts and also some interesting facts about human evolution and our ability to drink milk. So I leave you here with this cute picture of a cat drinking milk because the internet loves cats, and I hope you do too. Okay, so study hard, but remember, study smart. Take care. Bye.